Hello again, folks. It's Joe and it's Mike from buildassetsonline.com. And in today's episode, we're going to be talking about how to quit your job in 2020. And so we're going to kind of break this down into three parts. First, we're going to give you like some general tips of, the core principles you need to consider. Then we're going to tell you things not to do. And then we're going to tell you the paths you should pursue and things you should actually be doing if you want to quit your job in 2020. Now, I quit my job doing online business in 2014. Mike had a very short real career. When did you quit your job? What year was it?
March 2016.
March 2016.
Started doing Kindle in November 2015.
Okay, so how many months of Kindle did it take you to quit your job? 4?
4.
I'm bad with months.
4.
Okay, yeah. So there you go. We're coming at this from our real world experience, having done online business since 2014, still doing it today. And so, yeah, this is going to be the best advice we have for you. So the first thing, and I think that this trumps anything else when it comes to starting a business or, money, finances in general, you have to make sure that your personal finances are on point. Now, when you're researching online business, you might see a bunch of people driving Lamborghinis and like doing all sorts of crazy stuff. And I think that kind of thing really gets glorified, but it's not really realistic. You have to define what wealth is to you and the things that are important to you. And you have to kind of make a budget to live within your means and to achieve those things. Don't you agree, Mike?
Yeah, I agree. And when you make a budget, it's really a matter of, okay, how much cash can I set aside each month that I can put into the business? Because if you want to actually quit your job, you're going to need to go full on, do as much as possible, and invest as much as possible in a way that is smart. So when you make a budget, you're basically saying, okay, I can set aside $2,000 a month and I can safely put this into building a business. And if I completely fail, then no harm, no foul. I'll just go back to my job.
Yeah.
So that's the way I looked at it when I quit my job. I said, okay, I can live off of if I put my all into this for 6 months and I make nothing back, I will still be fine. I'll just keep coming in every day.
Yeah, that's a great mentality to have. And one thing you need to separate out is that when you're generating an online business, you're kind of either growing or you're flopping. So it's very rare that you're kind of just going to ride a wave and stay the same. So you need to really be thinking about when you're making your personal budget, not only how much you need to live and to pay your personal expenses, but how much you want to reinvest back into the business. And, we're not saying to gung-ho and just reinvest everything back in the business, but as you see what's working and what's not working, you should kind of develop a smart plan for reinvestment and just know that you're not going to be just taking home all the revenue or all the profit even that your business generates, because you're going to want to keep that in the business. But the good news is that if you get good at online business, keeping your money in the online business has a much higher ROI than like almost anything else you can do with the least amount of risk, I would say.
Yeah, compared to a 401k or an IRA or something like that, that's going to grow at how much? What's the max percent? One of those things can grow 12%?
10%. I mean, around 10% if it doesn't flop that year or,
Yeah.
fall for 3 years consistently,
Yeah, with online business, you should be able to double your money consistently. And it just comes down to the business model you do, and each of them have their own sort of financial strategies. But the point is that when you're starting out, we made a video before about retail arbitrage, and Joe called it feeding the beast. And what this means is, in Amazon terms, the more products you buy and send it to Amazon, the more money you're going to make back because your inventory swells, you're showing up in more places, and then it sort of just compounds on itself. And a lot of businesses are like that. Once you get a hang of something like paid traffic or making Kindle books, the more sort of data you can put out into the world, the more fishing lines you can put out into the world, the more likely you are to get responses back, and then you can iterate off of those responses quicker.
Yeah, that's right. I like to kind of think of it like like planting seeds in a way. You're planting a
Yeah.
lot of seeds, and it's less like fishing, because fishing, you catch something and you bring it back in, and that's it. But when you plant a seed, it tends to grow like over time, and it's going to keep growing as long as it's getting enough water. You know what I'm saying? If it's getting enough water and it's getting enough sunlight, it's going to keep growing. So you want to be able to have the money to just keep planting seeds and scatter them all over the digital earth.
Yeah. But the
Yeah,
point is that some seeds may never grow.
yeah,
Some seeds may, grow to be just kind of duds, and some may just take off. And then from the best plants, you can sort of take those seeds, plant more, and that's really how you build a business or a farm.
yeah. So yeah, so I highly recommend, just don't quit your job on a whim. Start doing an online business before you quit. And I started doing that with retail arbitrage before I quit my job. Mike did that with Kindle publishing. And it's really important because you want to make sure that you have the capacity to work on something consistently. You should be able to be at your job, come home, work on your online business for a few hours, or during your lunch break, work on your online business for an hour, a half hour, before work on it. And you need to make sure that you can do that consistently, because when you have your online business and you're not at your job anymore, that's all you're going to be doing. And, if you can't do that, don't expect that something is going to magically change when you quit your job.
I would rather have essentially consistent hours each week that are dedicated to working on a certain task versus just quitting your job and having 2 months to make something happen.
Yeah,
For,
definitely.
but that's not to be confused with the idea of putting yourself under pressure, because I think a lot of times people perform best and they're the most creative when they're under pressure. So if you're using your job as a crutch to not give your all into the online business and not actually have in your head the reasons, very strong reasons why you want to quit your job, then you're going to be less likely to succeed. You need to understand that the business is there for you to fall back on if you fail, just to make it okay in your mind for you to go all in.
Yeah, and I think something to remember is that time is kind of the wild card here. So
Hmm.
you can work on something for 10 hours one day, and it's not going to be the same result as if you're doing something for an hour over 10 days. And the reason that is because things on the internet need time to evolve. Like, think about your favorite YouTube channel. They didn't grow overnight. Like, you need to, it's like you put a video out there, it sits out there in the world. You put another video out there, it sits out there in the world. And it's just kind of like a snowball effect. Like, time is something that you can't speed it up, and there's nothing you can do to accelerate some of
Hmm.
the things that your business is going to need to succeed, if that makes sense.
Yeah. So let's segue that into what not to do.
All right. So there are 3 or 4 main popular business models out there that you should not do if you want to quit your job in 2020. And that's not to say that these are bad business models, but if you want to quit your job quickly, they're not what to start out with. So starting a blog for affiliate marketing or showing ads or stuff like that, don't do that. Why should you not do that, Mike?
Because it takes too long. There's too much variation. When you make a blog and you put out content, it's like Joe just says, things need to sit out there in the world. It's especially true for content. And that's because in order for it to rank on the Google algorithm, Google needs to decide, okay, this content is worthy of ranking. And when you start a new website, it's going to be what's called the Google sandbox. So it's going to take around 6 months for Google to even begin showing you as much as you should be shown. And from there, you actually can continue to grow even more. So even if you put your all into starting a blog and you spend tons of money on content and you do everything right, which is unlikely, for one, it'll take at least 6 months for you to fully know if you did it right. And if you didn't, then you basically have another several months in order to correct things and order new content and
Yeah.
stuff like that.
That
So,
period of long feedback makes the margin of error for building a blog very, very small. It took us around 2 or 3 years to start generating some decent money from blogging, from making content sites, Amazon affiliate, showing ads and stuff like that. And that's because of that very reason, is that it takes months and months and months to evaluate what you're doing and see if Google's liking it, see if it's correct. Now, if you are going to start a blog, you can, do it based on like social media and Pinterest and stuff like that. But again, that's not one of the business models we recommend, because, it's hard to do something consistently. So the next thing you shouldn't do is start a podcast or a YouTube channel if you want to quit in 2020. And again, I think these are some similar reasons, but if you actually want to quit your job in 2020, why do you not want to do either of these things?
Well, in my opinion, if you have a job, it means you're not an expert at things that are related to online business. And so when you go out and start a blog or a YouTube channel, you're essentially going out there and telling the world, hey, I have an expertise in this subject. And even if the subject is not related to online business, you're still running a business. So you're going to need to figure out how to develop the audience. It's almost going to be like a blog site, except with audio or video content. And so the margin of error is very, very low. In order for you to take off after a year with some sort of personal brand, you have to get sort of boosted from somewhere. Someone has to spread the word about you. And if you don't know people in the industry already, which you most likely don't, then it's going to be difficult. You can do these types of things, but they take years and years and years to build up. Some of the biggest YouTube channels literally went nowhere for their first 3 years in existence. And you can't think that you're going to just take off.
Yeah. And it's not to say that you can't start a podcast or a YouTube channel on something that you're passionate about, but it's not ideal if you want to build a business quickly and quit in 2020. And it's just also, not ideal because, for other reasons that might
just much less guaranteed.
Yeah, exactly.
It's more likely that you are still stuck in the mud after 2020 ends by doing those types of things. Not to say that you'll never make money with it. It'll never work.
Yeah. And the last thing I want to point out about that is, if you are thinking about doing it on something you're passionate about, maybe you're an expert in, you have a job, just a regular corporate job, and you love like quilt work or like yarn or something. Just be very careful with that, because if you're doing a YouTube channel or some sort of podcast on a subject like that you're passionate about, and it's not going anywhere, and you're trying to make a business out of it, your passion for that can fade very, very quickly.
Yeah.
So you're better off getting your experience with something that's likely to succeed. So when you want to do something you're passionate about later, you already have the tools to make it succeed.
Yeah, passion and business being together is the dumbest thing, in my opinion. If you like knitting, that has nothing to do with liking writing about knitting or liking to make videos about knitting. You like knitting. So how about you just make a lot of money so you don't have to work that many hours, and you can spend those hours knitting?
Good. Yeah, you're right I never thought about it that way. That's very, very true. Like, I like gaming, but like I hate streaming and I hate making videos about games. So yeah. So the last one that you don't want to do, which is kind of popular, is starting a social media marketing agency. First of all, maybe you're working in social media and maybe you feel that you have some expertise or something, but unless you're already running a social media marketing agency, like, you don't have the experience and the know-how to run a social media marketing agency. There's too many moving parts, too many facets. Horrible beginner business. What do you think, Mike?
Yeah. Again, you need a skill set in order to quit your job. If you have some social media marketing certification that you got online through a course, it's not enough for you to go out and get clients, and actually, even if you get clients, to retain those clients. And you have to understand that your first year in online business, if you quit your job, that is a great thing, but you're still a novice. The real experience comes with having these years and years of previous experiences that you can go off and say, okay, this worked. And then that's what you replicate. So there are ways that are the easiest routes to go down if you want to quit your job in a year, and we're going to get into those. But starting a client-based agency is just a bad idea because you just don't have the experience to actually pull that off.
Yeah, like you said, maybe you have a job and you're running Facebook ads, and that's what you do for your company. But are you good at getting leads for your own business? Are you good at managing those leads? Are you good at
Yeah.
selling those leads into your service? Do you even know how to make a website and develop, your whole
Mm.
thing? So
Yeah.
that's.
It's making you responsible for all aspects of the business when you have an agency. It's not just about being good at a skill. Being good at a skill is actually the least important part, because if you have the ability to just get clients at will, who cares how good they are? If, say they leave the next month, if you can acquire that same amount of clients every month, you're fine. But most likely you're not going to have the skills of making a website. You're not going to have the skills of acquiring clients, and you're not going to have amazing success with actually running these, social media marketing campaigns to where people recommend you like crazy and you have client retention.
Yeah, it's important to recommend, or sorry, it's important to realize that all of the stuff, all of the individual skills in online business, like Facebook ads or even Google ads, which we talk about all the time, these are in a way commoditized skills. So these are things that you can hire someone at an hourly rate or at a rate per campaign or whatever, and anyone could do a decent job. It's a commodity. Anyone who doesn't is good at it can do a decent job. But like Mike was saying, it's really about developing what the big picture is. Like Mike, I would say you're pretty good at running Google Ads at this point. And we've talked about this a lot. But so when we run Google Ads on our dropshipping stores, a lot of it is successful, because you understand the business, because you have a holistic picture of the business and how it's running.
Mhm.
And is that
Yeah.
correct?
Yeah, and we actually just sold the store again, so there'll be a video coming up about that. But
Yeah.
I was just chatting with the new store owner, and we were talking about Google Ads, and I was going through one of his previous stores actually, which he also acquired from us. But he had an agency, someone who claims to be a professional, come in and make ads for him, and try and fix his campaigns. They completely ruined everything. Like if you had just bought our dropshipping course and just followed it and got 20% of it right, you'd be in a better off position than this person was. I was really, really mad at that this person
They ruined your
tried to,
masterpiece.
they ruined my masterpiece, and they made someone pay for it,
Oh,
and they claimed to be a professional.
yeah.
It was I don't even want to get into it. Let's move on.
All right. All right. So let's talk about the things that you could do to quit your job in 2020.
Okay.
High ticket dropshipping. Don't get this confused with AliExpress and the low ticket stuff that you see advertised of people driving Lamborghinis and stuff like that. What do we mean when we're talking about high ticket dropshipping, Mike?
We mean finding suppliers in the U.S. where you can open up wholesale accounts, or U.S. or whatever country you're in, open up wholesale accounts, get dealer pricing for domestic brands, and you list those on your website, and you drive targeted traffic to them with Google Ads. And this is by far the easiest way to quit your job, because you have leverage and you have a basically large margin of error.
Right.
And what we mean by that is, when you do high ticket, you're going to be making a couple $100 per sale, if not more. And so that gives you a lot of room to fail. If you take, say, for example, our course, and you go through our training and you do everything to, say, 60% accuracy, and you run the ads how we say, but you only do them 60% correct. Well, if you're being conservative about what you're doing, even if you don't do a great job, you can still stand to break even, one, and learn from the experience, or make a couple $100 per sale.
Yeah.
And as you do that, you learn, you can continue tweaking things, you can figure out your mistakes, and then you can grow and grow and grow. But the point is that the feedback from doing these things is so much quicker, because there's not some sort of Amazon algorithm stifling you. There's not the Google sandbox that's going to prevent you from not showing up. It's just you, your store, your suppliers, and you're running your own traffic. So you can turn anything on and off whenever you want.
Yeah, it's like a faucet. It's just like, all right, the traffic is a faucet turn away from coming to your site, And, if you target that traffic correctly, you're going to be making sales for big, big margins. And not to mention, Mike, it's really, really a fantastic way to learn a lot about online business in a short period of time. Because when you're doing high ticket dropshipping, you are kind of seeing the whole world of online business. You're dealing with traffic, you're dealing with conversion rates, you're dealing with acquiring leads, you're dealing with managing those leads. You're dealing with everything, almost everything you need to run an online business successfully. So,
but different from the agency, these things are already essentially fleshed out for you. With
Right.
Shopify, for the one, you have the Shopify platform, which is already pretty comprehensive, and you have apps that people make that make selling easier. You have themes that companies make that make your site look really nice.
Yeah.
And you're selling products that have already been tested and proven, have market demand.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. Yeah, that's right.
that's it.
And and like you're taking advantage of traffic that has high buying intent. If you're doing your Google ads correctly, these people are searching Google because they want to buy, and there's so many products out there. And I think we covered this in another video, but this is the last thing I want to say about high ticket dropshipping. If you want to leverage the same thing for a social media marketing agency, if you want to leverage in search intent in Google, you're going to be paying a lot per click, a lot. Whereas if you're doing, a bunch of unique products, high ticket that, not a lot of people are advertising for, it's going to be exponentially less expensive than trying to get social media marketing leads on Google. If you want to get social media marketing leads on Google, you better have some deep, deep, deep pockets. I'll just say that. So the next business model that you should consider if you want to quit your job in 2020 is doing Kindle publishing. Mike, you are the Kindle publishing guru. You've really grown, but I used to call you the Kindle kid. That was your nickname. But now you're a Kindle man, Mike, and I'm very proud of you. So let's give the people the knowledge.
Yeah. So I think it'll be a bit harder to quit your job with Kindle publishing versus dropshipping, but it can be done if you don't have as much time or energy or desire to put in structures of like customer service, which is not insanely difficult to do, but some people don't like doing it.
Right.
Anyway, for you to quit your job in a year with Kindle publishing, you just need to make books.
Yeah.
You just need to buy a course. Most likely, we don't even sell a course, so I'm not trying to sell you. Buy a course on how to do it and just say to yourself, I'm going to invest this amount every single month into Kindle.
Yeah.
That's exactly what I did. And eventually you'll build up a library. You'll figure out what works, whether you do fiction or nonfiction. And the thing is with Kindle, you can build an audience. So let's say you're putting out science fiction books. The first book you put out, it may not make a lot of money, but it can snowball very quickly because all of a sudden you put out 3 books and now you can make a series out of those 3 books. So now you paid for 3 books and now you have 4. And you're growing your audience. So people are finding any of these books, they're reading it, they're saying, okay, I like this. Then they go through and they read your whole catalog. So it's much more of a sort of ramp up snowball effect, whereas dropshipping is just kind of a faucet that you turn on and off. But it can certainly be done. I did it in 4 months. Granted, Kindle was a bit different back then. Now it's a lot more focused on audience building. But I'd say, when did we start Kindle publishing again seriously? It was in May of almost 2 years ago.
Yeah.
And we were making a decent amount of money after that first year. So, I'd say we were making like $5,000 or $6,000 a month.
Yeah.
Maybe even 7,000.
And it is really exponential, like
Yeah.
you're saying. Now that we have a big back catalog, huge audience pixel on Facebook, big email list.
Yeah.
We've been dropping some bombs lately. Let's just say
that'll be a whole separate video.
Yeah.
With the
yeah.
Kindle screenshots, but
Yeah.
yeah, Kindle could be done. You just need to really be focused and committed to investing.
Yeah. And while there's much is much less moving parts than drop shipping, you are still learning some key aspects, which is audience building.
Yeah.
Very valuable skill in online business. But like Mike said, the downside is it takes more time to kind of come online and snowball compared to
And the downside,
dropshipping.
as we also talk about, is that as I quit my job, Kindle suspended me and took all my money.
Right,
So
right. Yeah, you really have.
there's always that factor with Kindle. It's less now. Kindle has put other things in place to ensure quality control, and we won't get into the whole story.
Yeah.
But it's less likely to happen now, but it is still a
Yeah,
possibility.
whenever you have all your eggs in Amazon's basket, I don't know a good metaphor, but they can do whatever they want with you, basically. And it's just, again, it's algorithms, it's people that don't really care about your business particularly. They're probably just someone offshore paid a cheap wage, that makes the decision to suspend you. But anyway, the third thing you can do to quit your job, which we just made a video about. I don't know if it'll be out before this or after this, but it is retail arbitrage, and that is how I got started in 2014. It's another Amazon-based business. You're finding deals on all sorts of products. It could be done in retail stores, it can be done online, and you're sending them into Amazon. And the good thing about this, even though it doesn't have a lot of the upsides in terms of like the stuff you learn, compared to dropshipping and Kindle, especially compared to dropshipping, the big major benefit of this is that you can start to generate cash quickly, very, very quickly. You can be, if you have $100 to spend and you get some good, deals in store, and this is kind of what happened to me, how I started kind of snowballing things with my retail arbitrage business. I didn't start with much money. I started with like $200, $300, maybe even less. It just feeds into itself. Maybe you double your money, or you triple your money, or you turn $100 into $150, and you go out and you buy more inventory. And Amazon pays you every 2 weeks. So as long as you're picking up the right stuff, which is really straightforward to do, because Amazon has the product data on everything you're going to be buying, it's real easy and probably the least complicated of all the other business models we talked about. But there are some downsides to it, Mike. Tell us about those.
Yeah. So you made me lose my train of thought there. So the point is that when you're doing Amazon retail arbitrage, you can get your cash flow up very quickly, but it's not diversified, and there's no real scalability with it. You can only be in so many places at one time, and you never can really know what a particular store is going to have, because you're leveraging the clearance sections of other online websites and brick and mortar businesses. So what you can do, what I would say to someone, I would say, okay, you work 40 hours a week right now, probably more, to generate a certain monthly income of X. Let's say it's $6,000, $7,000. If you can start generating $7,000 using retail arbitrage and work less than 40 hours a week, then now you've freed yourself up to work more on other businesses that can diversify your portfolio.
Yeah.
So if you can live off of $6,000 a month, and you can achieve that with, retail arbitrage by working 20 hours a week, 30 hours a week, then now your days are, first of all, you're home, you don't have to commute, and your days are so much more open to actually begin learning the real online business stuff.
Yeah. So, if you're interested in getting started with retail arbitrage, I, kind of just became an affiliate for the course that I got started with back in 2014, which is Jessica LaRue's stuff from the Selling Family. So you can check her stuff out. It's really, really good. Again, it's how I started making money online. You can check that out at buildassetsonline.com/retail, or I'll just leave a link in the YouTube and podcast description and stuff like that. So yeah, that's it for this episode, guys. Thanks so much for watching and listening. If you want to quit your job in 2020, I wish you all the best luck. It is possible, but consistency is key. It's not something you can just have a vision about and think it's going to happen automatically. You just got to really, really put the work in consistently. So that's it, guys. We'll see you in the next episode.
Take it easy.